Welcome to the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. We're here every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Right here, wherever it is you're watching it now, that's where we are. We'd love for you to join us live. You can get in on the stuff, go to the website, thebibleforum.net, and you can watch from there. I want to talk to you about racial tension and other myths. A recent issue, I don't know what magazine or newspaper, but it spoke of the city of Richmond, Virginia, bracing itself for potential violence a couple of weeks ago. The way that it was spelled out was, this is going to be another Charlottesville if it were to expand into the worst case scenario. So what was going on? Well, apparently thousands of gun owners converged on the state capitol to protest gun restriction legislation. The event? Martin Luther King Day. Driving the news was the story of Virginia state officials who were on edge after learning that militia groups, including some extremists with white supremacist views, were planning a violent attack on Monday, the annual lobbying day for the public to express views at the state capitol. The event was expected to go on, but under tight security with an emergency weapons ban in place. Now keep in mind the damage to life and limb in 2017, which was the genesis of all of this fear. The damage to life there was from a car, not a gun. And the person behind the wheel was an anarchist. It was an anarchist event. Thursday, before the event, the FBI arrested 3 men planning to attend the Richmond rally who have ties to something called The Base. The Base is apparently an anarchist white supremacist group whose aim is to create a white ethno-state, according to the New York Times. Governor Ralph Northam, who's a Democrat, called a state emergency last week out of concern for public safety, citing intelligence of threats of violence and extremist rhetoric similar to Charlottesville. The FAA instituted a ban on airspace over the Capitol out of concern for aerial threats, including weaponized drones. Organizers of the 2017 white supremacist Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville said they plan to attend Richmond's event as well. Well, here's the news after the event from NBC TV, Channel 12, Richmond. They said the size of Monday's rally and the expected participation of white supremacist and fringe militia groups raised fears that the state could see a repeat of the violence that exploded in 2017 in Charlottesville. But the rally concluded uneventfully around noon, and the mood was largely festive. A crowd estimated to be at least 22,000 spilled into the streets chanting USA and waving signs denouncing Democrat Governor Ralph Northam. In addition, Fox News reported that Virginia Governor Northam was dragged by critics on social media Monday night. Dragged. That's jive talk for ridicule. After releasing a statement suggesting the massive incident-free rally held in Richmond to protest his party's proposed gun control laws had been successfully de-escalated. We are all thankful that today passed without incident, he said. The team successfully de-escalated what could have been a volatile situation. The results from weeks of planning and extensive cooperation among state, local, federal partners in Virginia and beyond. What made the difference? Was it the preparation the state went through? Was it the effort that the governor went to? Not at all. The difference was no violent people showed up. Only average Americans concerned about their constitutional right to bear arms. people who are routinely not the cause of gun violence. So who then is generally the cause of this kind of trouble? Usually it's people who have taken their concern for the direction of this country to heart and believe only violence can change it. What are they upset about? Well, largely the continued restrictions on our constitutional right to bear arms and the steady move to the left, meaning the elevating of one class of people over another for the purpose of wealth and power. So who would do such a thing? Well, we're told that it's organic. It bubbles up from the rank and file black community. But does it? According to statistics, most black Americans say the president is a racist. It's a Washington Post Ipsos survey. Nearly 2/3 of black Americans say it's a bad time to be black in America. Compared to what? Just 2 in 10 black Americans say most white Americans appreciate what discrimination black Americans face, presumably today. What they're saying is that the president has taken hatred against people of color in general from the closet to the front porch. That from a black American interviewed by the Washington Post. But is the president really responsible for rising racial tension? The majority of Americans say he is, according to a survey last year by nonpartisan Pew Research Center. But is that your reality? The media pushes the racial tension button for reasons only they know. In everyday America, the situation is generally different, unless I've lived in a bubble all my life. The reported diverging views between blacks and whites, Democrats and Republicans, make it seem as though we are living in different versions of America. A strong majority of blacks, 73%, Hispanics, 69%, and Asians, 65%, say Trump has made race relations worse. Just how he has done that, we're not told, presumably because of his immigration policies. About half of whites, 49%, according to Pew Research Center, in a survey released in April of 2019, said the same thing. Majorities of blacks and Hispanics say that people are more likely to express racist or racially insensitive views since Trump was elected. More than 8 out of 10 Democrats say the president has made race relations worse. Just 1% say he's improved it. More than 1/3 of Republicans say Trump has made progress toward improving race relations. Just 20% say he's made it worse. This is a serious diversion of opinion. And we have to ask the question, why? I would ask, what planet are these people living on? But then you might ask, what planet am I living on? I'm 76 years old. I have never had a problem with anyone because of the color of their skin. Have you? You say yes? Then I would suggest that you have the problem, not them. You say, well, how can that be? Oh, people get out and they go crazy. You know, hey, when I see black people taking to the street in anger, I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for them because people have done things to them, apparently, to get them to that state. It might be the non-black people in their world who have abused them. But it might be the black people in their world who have stirred them up. And it's hard to tell sometimes. The racial tensions I have witnessed firsthand have come from people of color, largely stimulated by the media's constant reminder of things happening in other parts of the country. Not here, but it's happening over there. Not that racial discrimination is not around, but there are racists in all groups of people for various reasons. Most prevalent where people are ignorant or arrogant or proud. People who think they are superior in some way or another. Now, I don't consider that racial at all. It's just opportunistic. Opportunistic bigotry. And opportunistic bigotry is a distinctly human trait. These people would do it to me, and have, when it suits their purposes. They're equal opportunity discriminators. Poor people of all shades struggle with what they consider to be discrimination. In their mind, the system is rigged against them, and in some ways it is. People look down on them and they say, there's a problem. Oh, people look down on them, they say. I read it wrong. And in some cases, people do. But is it really the color of skin that is the driving force? Now, if you're in that group, you think you're being discriminated against because of the color of your skin. It might be your attitude, it might be your behavior. And it works both ways. White, black, white, red, yellow, you name it. That a disproportionate number of poor people happen to have darker skin than most Americans only feeds the perception. But what's really going on? What's really going on is that there are people in our world who really need help. And where you find them, we should help them. Secondly, there are people in our world convinced, largely by others, that they need help. The others have an ulterior motivation. We need to address that. Thirdly, there are people in our world who scam the system for help. We see them all the time. And they'll use any ruse that comes to mind. And it might just be color. Fourthly, there are politicians and others who make a living off of poor people. Make a living off the fact that they are suffering, and I'm here to help them. But never do. We saw it recently in the battle that the president had with some of the folks in Congress, going back to their districts and saying, what have you done to help these people? Black congressman, black district, and no progress over decades, and not just in one place. Those are legitimate questions. They were not taken seriously because people got upset about the technique. But skin color is not the measure of your character. It's not the measure in terms of training. It might be the measure in terms of opportunity. We got to get over that one. But our problem is we have deliberately destroyed the family unit. And that leads to this kind of destruction culturally. We have deliberately marginalized human life. Can you say abortion? We don't care about people until they reach a certain age. We have deliberately eliminated gender differences, which tells us that there is nothing that's absolute. Nothing. We have deliberately trained citizens to expect government help. We have done that for 100 years. We have deliberately ignored our inner cities, Democrat, Republican alike. We have deliberately hamstrung our police and courts. And we have deliberately dumbed down our educational system. We have deliberately fragmented and confused the concept of church. We have deliberately elevated 24-hour, 7-day-a-week entertainment. And we are deliberately, constantly divided by color for power and profit. And then when all of this is done, we are pointing to people who are caught up in all of this deliberacy as proof that our society is fragmented, dangerous, divided, needs a lot of help. And we get this from the very groups, the very philosophies that caused the problem in the first place. You don't believe me? Wake up, look around.